I'm going to turn the microphone over to Tony in a few moments, but I want to preface what we're going to share here this morning with a bit of a personal witness so that I can introduce Tony. In my earliest Christian years, I, like you, learned the Bible stories, Noah and the flood, Moses and the Exodus, and all these Bible stories. There was a time in my Christian experience when things began to break into my understanding. At least I thought I was becoming aware of spiritual truth and understanding beyond Sunday school and Sabbath school as a child. And my whole Christian experience and the way I read the Bible changed when I arrived at this conclusion that God has in the lives of others shown us our own case. So if I'm reading a story in the Bible about a person and what is going on, then I have to find out, who is that person representing Jesus? Is that person representing me? Is that person is representing someone's experience. And the real test and discovery is to find out who it represents. So I won't tell you who I decided represents my case, but I'll tell you who represents Tony's case. Okay? So once upon a time, there was a fellow on a road. He thought he knew where he was going. And his going was interrupted. And instruction was given, you go to this house and ask for a man named Bob. And that's exactly the story of Tony and his experience and how the Lord began working in a very special way in his life. All of that was a precursor to what you're going to see and hear this morning, and much, much more. I'm sharing this about Tony's experience because I have absolutely zero doubt that the experience of Paul on the road to Damascus is the experience of Tony on the road to wherever he thought he was going but didn't get there. He got to a different destination. And God is at work in everybody's life. There's a reason you're here. There's a reason Gary is here. There's a reason June and Ivan have been living here. How many years? I look at people rather differently than I did in my earlier years. I see that there are people who don't know how they got here. But there's a Bible character and there's a Bible story that fits their case. Every one of us. Every one of us. I believe that God not only sent Tony and Cindy here and their family and the expanded family, but Tony possessed talents and understanding that I could never have. I could never produce this book. I have it in my mind. I have a picture of what it ought to be like, but I could never produce it. But God sent Tony to work the machines and push the buttons, and together we have a product. I'm holding this up for a moment of recognition. There's something right here. Right here. Is it in the news? I mean, is it in the news? Is Armageddon being threatened? And so when you open this little publication, the headline reads Jerusalem. Where the world what? Where the world what? Ends. And the end what? Begins. This is the publication for this hour, for this time, for our circumstances and the circumstances of everybody on this rock. Do they understand that? No, they don't. I want to ask God's blessing on our gathering here this morning, and especially on Tony. Cuba would not have happened if Tony were not part of this ministry. It's just, that's where we are. I can put PJ in this mix as well. I can put Gary in this mix because Gary made a gift to the bookwork, and without that gift, we couldn't have finished.
You could not have paid the bills.
So there's a part for everyone to play here. Father in heaven, I want to thank you for leading in each of our lives. I want to thank you for giving your blessing to this little ministry, humble as it is. I want to thank you for the majestic work of the bookwork, the majesty and the power and the strength. A sermon may be preached and soon forgotten, but a book remains. We are here because you have kept us alive, kept this ministry at work. And I thank you and praise you for these blessings. I ask you to give your Spirit especially to Tony and to each of us here this morning, so that we not only hear, but we comprehend. We thank you for Jesus, who is all and in all, and we praise you in his name. Amen. Amen. All right, Tony, thank you. Come up here and say the good stuff.
I have a video to show in a few minutes that's going to show the experience of actually being there and giving these books away. But before that, I hope to, like Charles said, back up in the story and tell you where this began. Now, we've wanted to put books into Cuba for years, but in the past, we could send 3 books, 4 books, and they'd go in the mail. Maybe they'd get through, maybe they wouldn't. And then something happened. The world fell to pieces in 2001, and all the rules changed, and all of a sudden we couldn't send anything. We couldn't even send a book into Cuba. You had to go through special channels to make it happen. So a couple of years ago, the Obama administration decided to open the doors into Cuba to allow Americans in, to go visit and try and renew relations between, normalize the situation. That's right. So the Gulf States Conference here decided that they were going to send down a team of preachers and lay people to go down and just preach the word. And I heard this and I thought, ooh. Just so happened that a year or so ago, before all the hurricanes went through, tore up the Caribbean, there was quite a regular trip I was making to Miami to deliver books for the Caribbean. It was cheaper for me to take them down, stay with friends down there, drop the books off at the port and come back. It was cheaper to do that than it was to truck them down. And so I thought, while I was down there, I would take the puddle jump over to Cuba. It's, that much of a trip. Okay, I'll take the puddle jump over in anticipation of seeing if there's any possibility that we could put a handful of books into the hands of the people who were going down there on the evangelistic trip. And if it were possible, we would put a suitcase full, a box in this one, box in that, carry on, whatever. And so I thought, well, what if it's just by chance that I get through? I mean, I'd heard the stories that churches were illegal down there, that evangelistic work was illegal down there, and I thought, well, I had visions of them confiscating my Bible, my laptop, my recording devices. I mean, I had these pictures just because I'd heard all the stories. And so I thought, well, what's going to be the worst case scenario here? So I had, actually, these suitcases. One had clothes in, and one had toiletries, toothpaste, shampoo, stuff that you and I take for granted, that they cannot get quite so easily down there. I took 2 cases of Finding Peace Within Actually, this one, but not quite this one. This is a special one. Yes, Finding Peace Within in Spanish, Buscando la Paz Interior. And I thought, well, I'll put them in the suitcase, but I'm going to wrap them up so that they look like drugs. So that if someone would open this case and have a look and see what was in there, if these get through, then anything can get through, okay? So, I know, devious to the core. So I sent these down there. I came through customs, and I made a point, Patty, you're the customs person. Made a point of flying totally above the radar. You know what I mean? I didn't want to be inconspicuous. I wanted to see the worst case scenario. So I go through, I walk straight through customs, straight out of the airport, and I'm picked up, and I've got my 2 bags, and I thought, I mean, I was close. I'm not a paranoid person, but I was this close to paranoia, because I'd heard the stories, and I thought, they're going to arrest me, beat me up, they're going to, knee on the throat, down on the ground. Nothing like that happened at all. Nobody even actually paid me any attention at all. And I thought, oh, this is a good sign. So I get through, and I get picked up, actually by one of the union officials. And I thought, he's going to take me to some underground place where we're going to talk about religious things. No, big building, not big, elaborate, but like this, a building out in the open, front door totally open, all the windows open because there was no air conditioning, and it was hot. And through the gate I went, and we sat and we talked, and I began to realize that maybe the stories that I had heard weren't quite as accurate as we thought they might have been. And so I'm sitting and I'm talking, and they could speak a little bit of English and a little bit not. And I began asking questions while my real ride showed up. Give you this little heads up because I wanted you to see where my mind was. I began asking questions. Well, how many members do you have here in Cuba? 32,000 members. And I thought, 32,000 members? Good grief. The island is, we're not talking a huge, I mean, it's big, but it's not huge.
It's not as big as the state of Alabama.
Oh, it is. No, it goes from the south to the Keys, probably to the north of Georgia, I think, in size. And he showed me a map of the island, and all the churches were dotted all over the island. And I thought, a germ of an idea began. I thought, well, what do you do here? How do you get materials? He said, we don't get materials. They get Sabbath school materials from an outfit in Miami that send them stuff down. And an idea began to germinate in my mind. I thought, well, what if you had, I was just thinking outside the box, okay? What if you had books for all the members? How would we get these in? He said, well, I don't know, He said, but it'd be great if we could. And I said, I today represent a ministry that has sent books all over the world. I mean, 200 plus countries around the world in I don't know how many languages that I have actually formatted myself with the help of other people, the Czech, the Hungarian, the Slovakian, the on and on. Some I've totally lost count of. How would we get these in? Don't know. Well, he said there's an outfit in Miami. They send us the Sabbath school stuff. Maybe let's ask them. And at this point, I'm still wondering how they conduct religion in this communist country. How they've got 32,000 members over the whole island. How do they do church? Well, about that time, I got picked up by the people I was staying with, and it was a couple of days ahead of time. And in my mind is buzzing. Oh, I mean, if it was that easy, Surely there's a way to find a passage for books to get into this country. Surely, I mean, things are normalizing, things are changing. And that Sabbath, I had a couple of days to spend with the people. We drove here, we went there, we visited this one, that one. I could spend a lot of time telling you about the living conditions down there, but I'm not gonna. They're not good. Let's leave it at that. But I visited this one, and every one of the people that I visited had a Bible study going on with someone else, a neighbor, a friend, a co-worker. Walk down the street and there's someone, with a machete mowing the grass, and this elder is studying with that one, and that one mowing the grass over there is an elder, and he's studying with that one over there. And I said, so what do you use? He said, well, we go with our Bible and we study and then we leave. There's nothing to leave for the people to read for themselves.
It's the Bible.
Just yeah. And
They probably don't have a Bible to give them.
no.
They
They had their own Bible. I mean, this was something that really surprised me, that religion was not illegal at all in the country. But having, first of all, the wherewithal, the money to buy a Bible, and then finding a place where you could buy that Bible, and then, this was just, so many things are unrealistic down there. You really have to suspend normal in your mind. Anyway, we go to the church on that Sabbath, and it's a house smaller than this that's been converted, holds about 30 people. You'll see it actually on the video. This was the same church that I went to at that time. Holds about 30 people. They've got a screen like this, and they sing songs. Someone leads out for the Sabbath school, someone leads out for the sermon. It's just like here, all the windows are wide open. And I began to think, there has got to be a way that we can help these people. I came back, I was so affected when I first came back. I was so, I hesitate to say disgusted with myself for having, there's half a dozen Bibles on the front row here. We use them all, but in my own home, I've got a half a dozen Bibles in this room. I've got, half a dozen in that room, and I'm thinking to myself, it took a while to get over that mentality, Yeah, it was, they can't get toothpaste. Yeah, they can get it, but they might not have it for a month. Okay? Shampoo, feminine products, toilet seats. Like I said, I'm not going to dwell on the living conditions, but I came back and I thought to myself, look, PJ, I said, we got to find a way to get this worked out so that we can get some things to these people. Michael Rodriguez is a friend of ours from the Hoover Church who now pastors a Clanton church. He's from Cuba, escaped from Cuba in a boat about as big as this little area here with 20 people in the boat. Went on the sea and landed in Florida. At the time, 6. He was a young boy. Young, maybe not quite that young, but young. I began to talk with him. I said, Michael, what in the world? Can't we do something? He said, well, I don't know, man. I don't know. In his Cuban way, I don't know. I said, well, first of all, let's try and let's see, is it possible? Can we believe that we can get something in there? Can we start there? He said, I don't know, man. We began knocking on some doors and pushing some doors, and we tried first the outfit in Miami that sends the Sabbath school lessons down, and the majority of what they send is like a pallet, maybe a half a pallet with Sabbath school materials on. And they really weren't interested in sending anything other than their own stuff. So that door closed pretty quickly, even though we tried and we tried. We tried a shipping company out of Miami. How about if we just send the books down through this shipping company and have them land at the port? Well, there's paperwork. It's government paperwork. Got to do this. Politics, red tape. Got to do this. Got to do this. we had in mind for each of those church members to give them 2 books each. And at the time, it was just the 2 books each. We would develop a book especially for them. It would have all the 5 union addresses in. It wouldn't have any of our information in, because we were intending to go below the radar at this point. 1 book to keep, 1 book to give away, and let's just see what happens. Okay.
Does that number include children?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So, hey, you got 5 members in your family, you get 10 books. Do something with them. Those kids are going to grow up with that book. And they're going to give one away to their friends, their little friends at school, whoever they're studying the Bible with over here. Even some of the kids were studying the Bible with other people. I thought, this is amazing. I had
When you
not...
say kids, teenagers, or what?
No, 10, 12 years old, still in school. And that avenue, the shipping the books down there, that closed up very quickly. Couldn't do it. Had to have special red tape things to make that happen. So Michael and I went down there again. He had Cubans are big on baseball. He had a church-wide baseball tournament, and he and I went down and we sat in front of the union people and we explained what we had tried, what was working, what wasn't working. We fundraised. There are people in this room that have given money for this project. We fundraised and told people this is what we want to do, and I've got to tell you, from the beginning, there was, even in my own mind, there was a little bit of skepticism. I'm thinking, oh man, is this going to happen? But we started pushing the doors. We got the books printed. We got them here. I had to take all these labels off and put these new labels on. And the day came when they left our possession. And they were on their way to the final destination. Okay.
How many thousand?
67,000. 68, just short of 68,000 books it was. And it was 10 full-size pallets this high in a 20-foot container, 2 by 2 by 2 by 2, with the tracks sitting on the top. The patience needed to make this happen on my part was unusual, because I don't have this kind of patience generally. But I thought, well, I'm just going to...
This is taken over a year.
Over a year. This was more than a year ago that I went down there for the first time. And there were voices around me saying, oh, we should try. We should. I said, well, look, they trust this woman. How about we trust this woman too? Let's just do what they say. I have no other choice. That's right. God has done some wonderful things through a lot of believers, non-believers, non-Adventist, Adventist. And, like Charles said, this began a long time ago. Long time ago. God saw this a long time ago. When Michael left Cuba the first time, God saw him involved in this again. And he and I went down to meet the books last week. I can't believe it was just last week.
That just came up.
Just right out of the blue. We knew.
You knew, and you had to leave the next morning.
We knew it was going to be really quick because when they came out of customs, they had to be handled. And we were waiting for, all right, it's okay, it's coming. They're on. Every few days, the shipping company and I had contact with each other about something, some paperwork for this, a bill for that. I mean, we've paid some big bills to get these down there. But at the end of the story, the bottom line is the books are there. And they're actually now into the hands of the people. And many of these church members today have these books in their hands because of what we've done here. We're little people.
The first Sabbath with them.
The first Sabbath with them. We are such little people, but we are doing such a very important thing. And this has been so impressive to me, humbling, but elevating at the same time. let's let you see. It speaks for itself, and the narrative is there in the video. We'll show you that, take a couple of questions afterward, and go from there. Ivan, if you would, just hit play. Hello, this is David Diaz. We're at the union office. Diaz. And here is Michael and Pastor Ariel, Roberto, Julio, my friend Julio. And we're at the union office. We're going to meet the truck, which is just down here, with our books that have just come in for Cuba. Now this is outside the union office. These are containers that have come in from different places, and they've got farming equipment, gardening equipment, books, supplies in here, different things. What Customs is doing over there is they're just inspecting. So far they've taken out 3 pallets, a box from each, but oh, here comes another one, another pallet. It looks like they're just going to inspect, make sure everything looks good. We've got 10 pallets out on the street here. This is causing quite the event. People all over the place. The customs ladies are still there doing whatever they do, but there are 10 pallets up and down the street here. Here's the well, let's see, you can't see the truck. There's the man with the forklift bringing off what looks like the last pallet. Michael, you've got books all over the road. What's going on, man?
Hey man, we just finished dealing with customs here. They opened each box. Each, I mean, not each box, but each
A box off each pallet.
Yeah. Then we're ready to load it on the other truck, and we'll hit the road. All Cuba. Then we will distribute a certain amount of pallets per delegations, all to the country.
Praise God.
It's awesome, praise the Lord.
Here we are. This is Julio in the back of the truck. This is our driver. His name is se llama Ramon. Gracias, Ramon. Here we are leaving, getting ready to leave Havana. And we're in the truck. We've got the 40-foot container. I guess it is a 40-foot container behind us. And we are on our way. Ah. We're at the Central here. This is the last few books coming off that are going in here for 152 altogether. Yeah. There it is. Bienvenidos, Cuba. Julio, tell us where we are.
In Camagüey,
Camagüey.
a big city.
Big city. We just dropped off the books at the Central location. Welcome to Cuba, everybody. So right now it is
Yellow Canadian bus.
yeah, It's 10 to 8 in the morning, and actually things have slowed down a bit from about 6 o'clock on. There were people everywhere, just everywhere, going to work, going to school, mainly going to work at 6 o'clock. Now they're going to school and to work. So this is how they travel in Cuba. Right now it's just after 11 o'clock and people are back on the road. This is a popular mode of transport, carrying, it's like a taxi, cheap taxi I suppose, and one for the farmers. And one for Mum and Dad. It's just before noon on, I've lost track of the days. Just before noon on Thursday, I guess. And we've been on the road literally all night. We've been on the road about 24 hours, almost. Feeling it, getting a bit saddle sore. Now we're here at stop number 4. We're at the one of the eastern delegations, and I'm thinking that the books are going to go into that container right there. It is right at noon. So we'll see. We are coming into Santiago de Cuba. And the road has been like this and worse all the way. And the time of day is 20 after 4. So we have been on the road more than 24 hours, and this is our last stop. We're going to the delegation here and dropping off the last of the books, and once we're done with that, Julio and I are going to take a bus back to Havana.
I hope so.
Julio says he hopes so. I hope so too, because I don't want to walk this 17-hour bus ride.
Dale, dale.
Yep. So we just finished
No,
the rest of the truck.
no.
There they go. We are in Santiago. Where are we, Julio?
I'm tired, but I'm happy.
We are in Santiago de Cuba, and we have just dropped off the final load
Yes.
of the 65,000 books and tracts. The tracts too, the tracts went out.
Ese cuero que tiene. Salir en business.
This is a view outside of the place I'm staying at. Actually, the place I stay at every time I come to Cuba. These are the people I stay with. And this is what it looks like outside their front door. And here is the house. Actually, by Cuban standards, this is a nice house. There's a garage. Roberto works inside of this building. He repairs and makes the old cars look new again. This is what he does. And here we are back to the front. And that is someone's chicken singing in the background. Today is Sabbath, so I guess he's singing a Sabbath song. This is the small church. Actually, I don't know where this is. I'll have to tell you in a minute. But it's a house that's been converted into a little church, and they want to do some work here to make it easier. Inside you can hold about 30 people. In the front, in the back, they have a small place for the children. The bathroom is in the back. There's just a few simple things that we could do for them here that would really make a difference to the way they do things. Very simple. You know, the microphone just needs replacing. Kept cutting out during the service just because of a bad connection, which is not easy to get here. But these are many of the people. This is very nice little church. Lovely people. There's no air conditioning here, but these fans on the wall. The roof goes right out to the rest of the universe. So if it rains in here, it's very loud. Just next to the church here is this lovely little house. Not sure what kind of person would own this house. I'll have to ask. But this is very nice. What they do is they convert. They're not really allowed to build new houses, but they can convert old houses and build onto them. So many of the houses have 2, maybe 3 stories. This one has 2, might have more, but in the back, I don't know. It looks like they've got something going on in the back there too, which looks very nice. It's right around sundown Sabbath evening. It's about just a little after 5, and I'm just leaving Julio's place. We were just walking back over to Roberto's and realized we forgot my water, because I have to drink the bottled water. Cannot drink the local water like the local people, because I don't have the tolerance for the bug in the water. Not yet. So there are these beautiful birds singing, and here comes Julio with my water.
Oh,
There he is.
water.
Lifesaver.
a Tony haciéndole un lijado a un carro. Muy buen lijador.
This is the school that the little girl goes to, of the people that I stay with when I'm here. School is compulsory, everybody can read and write. Literacy rate is just, you know, I don't know what 100% means, but it's high. Anyway, it's out here countrywide. Everybody is in uniforms, they're in different colours for different ages. Different stages of school, they have different colour uniforms. Early, middle and high school. We're coming into Havana here. Taking a leisurely drive. Must be thousands of these old cars. I mean thousands. Some of them are still very pretty and some not so much. Old Havana in there somewhere. Empty.
People say that this is the same construction that the White House.
Yeah.
But the Cuba, how you call it? It's more high. than
Okay, yeah.
White House.
Yeah, they still got this covered in scaffolding. They must still be making repairs here. Yes.
There.
The England
This is a
Hotel.
theater.
So we are going to park and take pictures for Michael. This one's the theatre here, and then just a little further down here is a hotel called the Englander.
Inglaterra.
Wow.
Nice car.
And these are all these nice cars. Everywhere you look, these nice cars. See? These cars are kept so pretty. And this one's a 55 Chevy.
Hotel Parque Central. Central Park Hotel.
Central Park Hotel, right there. Look.
Telegraph. Telegraph. People are able to see
Sometimes the road itself is very entertaining. Morro Castle. Morro Castle. This is
17 something.
To protect against the Spanish?
Yes.
Yeah, good luck with that.
England.
Against the English?
Yes, Spanish against the England.
Spanish protecting against the English.
Yes. You see a cannon?
Sea goes to America. So this is the Oceanfront Drive. Not so much business down here, which is surprising. Very surprising. But there is many people fishing. So lots of hotels, offices or something. Old businesses.
This is a neighborhood.
We've had a year to prepare this, and so when we got on the ground, everything went so smoothly. Everybody was in place, all these different delegations.
Unreal.
You know, the whole process convinced me God was in this. For whatever reason, he has a heart for the Cuban people, because this went so smoothly. I honestly expected to wake up the next morning and it was just a dream, and I still had all of this yet to do. But it didn't work out that way. The church down there were, I mean, they really rose to the occasion. The union people and the different delegations, all those people you saw that were smiling, they were the higher ups, the officials in the church. They're like, wow, you know, why do you want to do this? Is a question. Is a fairly good question. Why do you want to give us these books? They loved it. Yes, I should show you. We prepared it especially for Cuba, and it has nothing.
I'm familiar with
you know it. It has none of our information other than IBE and our address, but it doesn't say the USA. This was the small tract that a sister donated, however many, 50,000 of this tract to be given. It's in Spanish.
Bible lessons in the back.
Still has the Bible lessons, which come from Bible readings for the home. It was a real blessing. I think everybody here should be just totally thrilled with themselves. If you can be thrilled with what you've been a part of without getting too blown up, I think that's great, because we can do this again. We can do this again and again. We don't want to wear them out, you
I
know.
think this one's English.
Yes, it is.
But did you get
We
it?
took Spanish. Yeah, I don't have.
You didn't have a Spanish copy.
No, but it wouldn't make any difference. People can read the English. It's all right. Questions before I turn it over to Charles?
What's the speed limit down there?
The greatest I saw was 100
That's kilometers.
kph. Yeah, kilometers, and that was on what we'll call the main highway, 100 kph. The average was 80, 50 miles per hour. Our average speed in that truck was 40 miles per hour, because the roads are so bad. They are so bad. I can't. In some places there are more holes than road. Just repairs on repairs on repairs. And
But most of the island is flat.
down the east they have mountains. They have mining going on down there, down Guantanamo area. And I've got some really nice pictures of some really nice mountains.
Oh, video?
Not on video, photograph. I should put a compilation together of the whole thing from beginning to end
Can't you take those pictures
and put them on the video. Yeah, oh yeah,
That would be good.
it would.
One of the things that surprised me is that they drove on the right-hand side of the road.
Yeah, they
That
do.
has got to be about the only island in the Caribbean. Just about everything else, Jamaica, right on down, left-hand
Well,
side.
all the French ones drive on the right. Puerto Rico drives on the right.
No English influence there.
Spanish.
Spanish.
Not in Cuba? No, Spanish.
Spanish and French.
When we were in Antigua, they drove on the left, didn't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Montserrat, I can't remember if they were the left or the right.
On the left.
Okay.
Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica, St. Vincent.
All those on the left?
Yeah.
But we, Michael and I had a great trip. In case you didn't know, I don't speak Spanish, but God didn't seem to care about that. And just said, well, I'll go along. It's like he says, you come along for the ride and we'll get this done.
Did the family you stay with, did you communicate with them?
I have in my phone a little Google Translate that I downloaded here and took with me, so we communicated like this. What time for church tomorrow?
Did they have cell phones?
Yes, yeah, but you had to go to special areas to get service, and Wi-Fi you had to pay $2 an hour, and you had to go to special places to get the Wi-Fi. It wasn't widespread. It was. It's not like we have here. It wasn't like I was expecting when I first went down there. It was nothing.
Kids playing video games.
Oh no. Although they do, yeah, they have some of that, but no, it's not like here.
Thank you, Tony.
That was fantastic. Praise God.
So while I'm watching and while I'm listening, the Lord reminded me in 1970, Judy and Stephanie and I moved to Chilton County. Stephanie was 2 years of age. So it must be 1973, 74, and I have just entered the canvassing work. And of course you have your case for your books and you have the various spreads and things. And I had a 5-year-old daughter at the time. She's the one that came over the dam here and down to the garden I used to practice gardening in below the dam. And I was standing beside the tractor. And Stephanie said, "Daddy, what's wrong?" I said, "Well, honey, the tractor won't start. I've tried everything, it won't start." She said, "Did you pray about it?" So Stephanie, 5-year-old Stephanie, and Daddy knelt down beside this Ford 8N tractor, which if I could have blown it up, I would have. But we knelt down beside the tractor and we prayed for the tractor. Lord, help us get this started. Started immediately and ran fine thereafter. It's the same 5-year-old Stephanie who is watching Daddy practice canvassing at home before I go out. And she gets one of my cases and she gets books in it and she practices canvassing. This is a 5-year-old child. So we're exploring ways to get more books out. We're wrapping books in handy wrap on the kitchen table. Judy complaining here and there. And we use Scotch tape, and we would take 3 or 4 paperback books and try different ways of packaging them and wrapping them up with handy wrap and Scotch tape. And this is what the Lord reminded me of on that occasion, right down there in that house, right down there in that kitchen. Judy and I were considerably younger then. And our daughter was 5 years of age, and we knelt down in the kitchen, all 3 of us, and we prayed. And the prayer was, Lord, show us how to get more books out. And that prayer is still being answered. Still being answered. Still being answered. And the Lord reminded me of it, brought tears to my eyes. God doesn't worry about time. He can get His will done in time, but He gets His will done. And we watch and experience His will being done if we're spiritually alert, if we're praying, and if we're asking in faith. God does things. I'll tell you, this ministry is about to print millions and millions and millions of books. I'm waiting for the next shipment to Cuba. Say amen. Probably Who Are the Angels? Got to set the stage. Father in heaven, we thank you for this occasion, for this wonderful story and experience Tony brings back. To see the books go is an answer to a long ago prayer. I thank you for reminding me and reminding us that God has a way and His will be accomplished. I thank you for this Sabbath day and the story, the things that have unfolded here. I pray that they will be multiplied 1,000 times and 1,000 times more. And we will see this story and this prayer answered in ways that we cannot even begin to imagine. And I thank you in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen.